When I needed a kidney, my sister said no, my parents threw her a party, and I watched them toast her bravery from a hospital bed. Until a stranger on the donor list read my story and did what my own family wouldn't even consider. I was lying in my hospital bed at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles, hooked up to 3 IV lines, fighting waves of nausea from another failed round of dialysis, when the nurse held out her phone and whispered, "Is this your family?" I didn't even have to look closely. There they were, my parents, my sister, and about 20 of their friends, smiling around the pool in our backyard in Burbank. Sun shining, champagne bottles out, music loud enough that I could practically hear it through the screen. And the caption my sister had posted made me feel like someone had opened my chest and squeezed my failing kidney with their bare hands. Celebrating my decision to protect my own future. Boundaries matter. Self-love matters. Yellow sparkles courage my body my choice no guilt. I felt the room tilt. Courage, she called it courage. A week earlier, the doctor had told us she was a perfect match. 98%. Practically a miracle. I remember turning toward her, actually crying with relief. And she had looked me in the eye, my older sister, the person I'd shared a bedroom with until we were teenagers, and said, flat and cold, "Why should I give my life for yours?" My parents didn't argue, didn't comfort me, didn't even ask her why. My dad just said, "It's her body, her choice, we won't pressure her." My mom added, "Your sister has a whole future ahead of her. She can't risk complications." I wanted to scream that I had a future too, or at least I used to, but nothing prepared me for the pool party. They didn't call. They didn't check on me. Didn't even send a text like, "Hope dialysis goes okay today." Instead, they threw a celebration for her bravery, as if refusing to save my life made her some kind of modern-day hero. And I, pathetic, skeletal from months of illness, lay there watching strangers toast my sister for abandoning me. The nurse muttered, "I'm so sorry," and quickly turned the phone off, but the damage was done. The image was burned into me. Every smile, every clink of glasses, my mom in the pool, my dad grilling burgers, my sister posing like she'd cured cancer instead of letting her sibling die. I couldn't even cry. I just felt hollow, like someone had scooped me out. The worst part, my name wasn't mentioned once, not in the comments, not in the video clips, not even in a vague, thinking of my sister today kind of way. It was like I had already died, and they were celebrating the freedom that came after. 2 days later, I made the decision to remove myself from their emergency contact list. I told the social worker I didn't want my family notified if my condition worsened. I couldn't bear the idea of them showing up and pretending to care. I told her, if I'm going to die, I want to die without their performance. I was emotionally done, physically exhausted, mentally burned to ash. And then, when I'd quietly accepted that my life might just end like this, something happened. A stranger from the National Transplant Waiting List reached out through a patient support group. She said she'd found my story in a way that didn't make sense at the time. She asked if I was the girl whose family had gone viral without knowing it. I stared at the message, confused. Viral? My story, how? I hadn't told anyone outside the hospital. The stranger followed up with one more line that made my heart slam against my ribs. "You need to see what your sister posted yesterday." I think she slipped, and I don't think she meant for the world to see it. I opened the link with shaking hands, and everything changed. Before everything blew up, my sister, Julia, and I grew up in a quiet neighborhood in Burbank, in a beige 2-story house my parents were weirdly proud of. From the outside, we looked normal enough. Dad worked in telecom, Mom ran a home bakery, and we were the classic 2 daughters 2 years apart family. Inside the house, though, everything revolved around Julia. It wasn't subtle. She was the gifted one, the responsible one, the one my parents bragged about to neighbors. If she got an A, it went on the fridge. If I got an A, my dad would say, "See, you're learning from your sister." She got dance lessons. I got whatever was left in the budget. She got the big bedroom. I got the one that used to be the office. She got the car when she turned 16. I took the bus. I used to tell myself it wasn't favoritism, that maybe I was imagining it. But there were moments that hit like little warnings I ignored. Like when I was 15 and fainted at school from dehydration. The ER called home. My mom didn't answer because she was helping Julia pick out dresses for a winter formal. Or the time I got pneumonia, and my dad complained about the bill for months, saying, We can't afford for you to keep getting sick." Meanwhile, they paid for Julia's trip to dance nationals in Orlando without blinking. Still, even with all that, I kept thinking that blood would matter when things got serious. That siblings just show up when it counts. That deep down, she'd put family first. Then my kidneys started failing. It happened slowly at first: fatigue, swelling, dark circles. I thought it was stress or burnout from work. But the doctor sat me down one morning and said the words that split my life in half. "Your kidney function is 14%. You need to prepare for dialysis and start the transplant evaluation process." I felt like I'd stepped off a cliff. I was 27. I'd barely started my life. They said early testing suggested it was autoimmune related. Nothing I did wrong, just bad luck. My parents' reaction should have told me everything. They weren't angry or sad. They were inconvenienced. My mom sighed like I told her her favorite show got canceled. My dad asked if my insurance would handle most of it. And Julia, she didn't even look up from her phone. A month later, when the transplant coordinator explained that immediate family members were the best chance for a match, Julia's head snapped up. "Wait," she said. "You mean me?" The coordinator nodded. "You're her sister, you should be tested." She looked at me like I'd asked for her house, her car, and her firstborn child, but she went through the testing. Reluctantly. Complaining the whole time. Acting like the blood draws were torture. But I still held onto this stupid, stubborn hope that when the results came in and they said she was a match, something would soften in her. Some instinct, some love. It didn't. The day she refused, my parents took her side so fast it made my head spin. My mom even hugged her and said, "Thank you for being honest." Honest. Like refusing to save your sister's life was some moral triumph. I didn't know then that the decision had nothing to do with fear, or medical risks, or boundaries. I didn't know that something had been brewing behind the scenes for months, something my sister had been hiding from everyone, and that the stranger who messaged me had seen the first crack in her facade. The message from the stranger kept replaying in my head, but before I ever clicked that link, things had already been spiraling in ways I didn't fully understand at the time. After the pool party, I stopped talking to my family completely. Not out of anger, at least not at first. It was more like I'd finally hit a point where my body and mind were too drained to keep reaching for people who kept stepping back. Dialysis wrecked me. 3 days a week. 4 hours at a time. I'd come home shaky, bruised, and so exhausted I'd sometimes fall asleep halfway through microwaving dinner. Meanwhile, my parents lived 20 minutes away and never once offered to drive me. They didn't even check in. But they did post. Every single day, my sister's social media became unbearable. She suddenly turned into an advocate for bodily autonomy, posting long captions about protecting your energy from people who drain you. People who drain you. That one got me. I read it while hooked to a machine that literally drained my blood, filtered it, and pushed it back in so I wouldn't die. Then she started making TikToks, talking straight to the camera with that soft influencer voice she'd never used before. "I refuse to let guilt force me into sacrificing my future," she said in one. "You have the right to say no, even to people who expect your yes." Comments flooded in from other influencers, wellness coaches, empowerment accounts. All praising her, calling her brave, calling her an inspiration for walking away from toxic demands. I was the toxic demand. My life was the demand. My parents played right along. My mom even posted a photo of her and Julia holding margaritas with the caption, "Celebrating strength and self-respect." Someone asked, "Is this about the kidney thing?" And she replied with, "Family situations are private, but we're proud of our girl." Private. Except for the fact that they were broadcasting it to hundreds of people. The real kicker was when a woman I worked with messaged me saying, "Hey, isn't this your sister?" with a screenshot of one of Julia's TikToks. I could barely breathe. I didn't want people in my life to know. I didn't want to be pitied. My world got smaller every week. Friends visited less. My boyfriend, well, ex now, bilaid after 3 months of caregiving fatigue. He said he couldn't handle the emotional weight. I didn't blame him. I didn't blame anyone but my family. But the real escalation happened when I saw one specific post from Julia that didn't match her usual polished tone. It was messy, sloppy, posted late at night. Her makeup was smudged and her voice was unsteady. It had only 20 views before she deleted it, but someone had screen recorded it and passed it around in a private patient support group, where the stranger who messaged me saw it. In that video, my sister said something that made my blood run cold, even before I understood the full meaning. Look, I'm not the bad guy. I've made my decision and no one can guilt trip me into changing it. If they knew the truth, they'd understand. But they don't. And I'm not ruining everything just because she's sick. Ruining everything. She said it like my survival was some kind of threat. Like saving my life would destroy something she was desperate to protect. I didn't know what that meant yet. But I was about to. Because the link the stranger sent me was connected to that video, and to the first twist that would blow everything open. I finally clicked the link the stranger sent me. It opened to a post on a small gossip-style forum, nothing huge, but big enough that things spread fast if they were juicy. Someone had uploaded the screen recording of my sister's deleted video, titling it, "Influencer wannabe slipped up, admits there's a truth about her sister's kidney situation." My stomach twisted. I pressed play. Julia looked drunk or high, I couldn't tell. She kept wiping mascara under her eyes and laughing nervously. But it wasn't the video itself that gutted me. It was the comments. Hundreds of them. Because some anonymous account was posting screenshots. Screenshots I had never seen. Screenshots from my sister's phone. Leaked texts, direct messages, photos, and worst of all, emails. At first I thought it had to be fake. Some troll, some fabricated drama. But then I saw her lock screen wallpaper in one screenshot, our childhood dog. A picture only she used. It was real. The first screenshot was an email exchange between my sister and a casting coordinator for a new reality show called Brave Body, Brave Life. A show about women making difficult medical decisions on their own terms. My sister was auditioning, and she was bragging about refusing to donate her kidney. My chest tightened as I zoomed in on the line that made my mouth go dry. Yes, my sister really is dying, and yes, I'm the only match. I've chosen myself. I think my story represents empowerment in its rawest form. Then her follow-up. If you need more drama or emotional impact, I can get footage or screenshots. My family fully supports me. I felt physically sick. She wasn't just refusing. She was leveraging my illness, using it as currency, turning it into a stepping stone for a reality TV career. But the leak didn't stop there. Next were screenshots of texts between her and my mom. Real texts. My mom's contact name and everything. In one message, my mom wrote, "Producers might want us in the future. So proud of you, honey. Stay strong. Don't let my name guilt you." Another from my dad. "Let the doctors handle her. You need to focus on your application." I couldn't breathe. They weren't just supporting her decision. They were encouraging her to milk it, to build a brand out of abandoning me. The final leak, the one that broke something deep inside me, was a text my sister sent to her best friend. "If I donate, the whole arc collapses. The show wants conflict. They want boundaries. If I suddenly save her, there's no storyline. Besides, if she dies, well, that's tragic, but it makes my message stronger." I read it 3 times. My brain refused to accept it. If I die, it strengthens her message. My death was content. I don't know how long I sat there. Could have been 5 minutes or 50. The nurse came in at one point and froze when she saw my face. She asked if I needed someone to call. I told her no. Because in that moment, I understood what the stranger meant when she said my sister didn't mean for the world to see it. Julia had been crafting an image. A brand, a storyline, and someone had blown her cover. I thought that was the twist. But the stranger who messaged me sent a follow-up right as I was trying not to throw up. Just one line, "There's more. And you need to know who leaked it, because it wasn't a troll. It was someone closer than you think." My hands shook as I opened the next message. I was not prepared for what I saw. The stranger's next message came with a username I recognized instantly, even though I hadn't seen it in almost a year. "This is from Ethan. I didn't know how to tell you directly." Ethan, my ex-best friend. Practically a brother to me growing up. The kid who lived 3 houses down in Burbank, who ate dinner at our place more than his own, who used to say my parents treated him better than they treated me. We drifted after college, not a fight, just life, but seeing his name jolted me like an electric shock. I messaged him immediately. "Me, why are you involved in this? Ethan, call me. Please." When I did, his voice sounded older, rougher, like he'd been carrying something heavy for too long. I'm the one who leaked the screenshots, he said quietly. Not because I wanted drama, because you deserve to know the truth. The truth, I whispered. He hesitated. I could hear cars passing in the background like he'd stepped outside somewhere. I've been seeing your sister. My throat closed. Of all the things I expected him to say, that wasn't on the list. He rushed to add, we broke up a month ago. I ended it, but I didn't know everything she was doing until after, and when I found out, I couldn't stay quiet. I felt dizzy. Julia had dated plenty of guys, but Ethan. Ethan had always been the one person I trusted unconditionally. When were you even together? I asked. 6 months, he said, and she made me keep it secret. She said your parents wouldn't approve yet and you were too emotionally fragile to handle it. Emotionally fragile. My sister's favorite excuse whenever she wanted to cut me out of something. He kept going. She showed me some of the emails about the reality show. At first I thought it was just her being dramatic. But then I saw the messages where she talked about you like you were an inconvenience. And your parents, Jesus, your parents actually encouraged her. His voice cracked with disgust. I realized she wasn't just self-centered. She was cruel, calculated, and she was going to ride this storyline all the way to fame, even if it meant you. He stopped, but I knew the end of that sentence. Even if it meant I died. But why leak it? I asked. Because she didn't stop when we broke up, he said. She went further. She told producers she could push the narrative harder. She even joked that the worse your condition got, the more sympathy she'd get for holding her ground. I pressed my hand to my chest. My heart felt like it was scraping against bone. He added, she's meeting with a producer next month. They want to see family dynamics on camera. They asked for footage of you. My stomach dropped. Footage of me, sick, weak, at my lowest. Oh, he said suddenly, and there's one more thing. I braced myself. She opened a private TikTok account. She's been recording you without your knowledge, during hospital visits, during family conversations, during dialysis. She's been saving it all. I went silent. That's when the rage finally hit, clear, cold, steady. It didn't explode, it condensed. Like a storm funneling into a single point. I wasn't just sick, I wasn't just abandoned. I was being exploited. And they all thought I'd be too weak, too desperate, too grateful for scraps of attention to fight back. But I wasn't dying yet. And even if I wasn't going quietly. So I asked Ethan one question. Can you send me everything? He said yes without hesitation. I spent that night in my hospital bed planning. Not petty revenge, not emotional payback, a controlled burn, a surgical strike. The kind of retaliation that would end careers, ruin reputations, and expose every rotten thing they'd done. And do it so cleanly that not a single person could spin it as anything other than what it was. But before I could pull the trigger, I got a second twist. Something I never saw coming. Something that changed the target of my revenge and widened the blast radius. I was halfway through organizing the leaked screenshots into folders, emails, texts, videos, timelines, when my nephrologist knocked on the hospital door. She never looked nervous, but that day her face was tight like she was bracing for impact. Can we talk privately? She asked. My stomach nodded. My first instinct was, I'm getting worse, but that wasn't it. She pulled up a chair, lowered her voice, and said, I received a call from the transplant program this morning. Something came up during your sister's psychological evaluation. I blinked. My sister had a psych evaluation. She refused to donate. Why would they even? She didn't refuse immediately, the doctor cut in gently. She actually started the donation approval process months ago. My brain stalled. No, I said. She told me she never even considered it. She said she wasn't risking her life. She told you that, the doctor said softly, because she already knew she wouldn't qualify. I stared at her. Why? The doctor hesitated. Chose her next words carefully. Your sister tested positive for a condition that would have disqualified her from donating, not because it would endanger you, because it would endanger her. I felt cold. Like the air had been vacuumed out of the room. What condition? I whispered. She lowered her voice even more. Advanced liver damage. My mouth dropped open. What? That makes no sense. She's healthy. She's... No, she wasn't perfect. But damaged liver? That wasn't even on the radar. The doctor continued. Her results showed significant alcohol-related damage. There were also markers consistent with long-term stimulant use. My pulse thudded in my ears. Stimulants, alcohol. My sister, the family golden child, the one who preached self-love, wellness, protecting her future, was hiding a secret that could wreck her entire image. And here's the part that concerns me, the doctor said. Your parents knew. They were informed before you were. I felt something in my chest rip open, not physically, but emotionally, like an old wound tearing wider. They knew, she repeated quietly. And they told the program they wanted it confidential. My parents knew months ago, before the pool party, before the posts, before they told me it's her choice, like she was heroically protecting her body. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't bravery. It wasn't empowerment. She literally couldn't donate. But instead of telling the truth, she weaponized my illness, turned it into a storyline, used me as the villain in her fake empowerment saga. And my parents, they didn't just go along with it. They helped cover it up. The doctor touched my arm gently. I'm telling you only because something doesn't feel right. Your sister's evaluation flagged more than liver damage. It raised concerns about manipulative behavior and unstable judgment. The psychologist believed there was a risk of her exploiting your medical situation for personal gain. I laughed. A bitter, shaking sound. She already did, I said, but the doctor wasn't done. There's something else, she added. You have another relative who underwent testing a few months ago, someone your family didn't tell you about. My heart stopped. Who? Your cousin. On your father's side. Lee. I froze. Lee, 24, lives in San Diego. We weren't close, but we talked sometimes on holidays. She was a near-perfect match, the doctor said quietly. She agreed to donate. I whispered. Then why didn't anyone tell me? The doctor sighed. Because your parents told the program you refused to accept a donor from outside your immediate family. They said you only wanted your sister. I felt like the room was spinning. My parents lied. They blocked a donor. They kept me sick, all to protect Julia's storyline. The doctor slid a new form onto my bed. For the record, she said, Lee contacted us again this morning. She found out you never rejected her donation. She's ready to move forward if you want her to. I stared at the form, the pen, the signature line. And for the first time since everything started, I realized the revenge wouldn't just be against my sister. It would be against all of them. I didn't sign the donor form right away. Not because I didn't want the kidney. I did. God, I did. But I needed to understand one thing before I moved forward. Why? Why would my sister, my parents, go to the lengths of lying to the transplant program, blocking a donor, covering up medical disqualifications, and letting me rot on dialysis? What did they gain? What was worth more than my life? I didn't get the answer from Ethan. I didn't get it from my doctor. I didn't get it from leaked texts or comments or videos. I got it from the last file Ethan sent me, a voice memo Julia recorded while on the phone with someone I didn't recognize. Her tone wasn't shaky or emotional or dramatic like in the other videos. It was cold, flat, businesslike. I opened it and heard her say, if she gets the kidney from me, the whole arc dies. The producers don't want a redemption story. They want a boundary story, a survival of the self story. Then a pause, a sigh. And honestly, keeping her sick keeps the attention on me. Sick cells, conflict cells, me donating ruins everything. My skin crawled. Everything inside me screamed to stop listening, but I couldn't. The caller's voice was low, male. So the sister has to stay sick, Julia. Exactly, not dead, just not better, not yet. Another pause then. If she gets another donor, I lose my angle. I lose the show, I lose the momentum. My parents get it, they know how rare opportunities like this are. My heart stopped. She continued, people will forget about me if she gets better. Right now, I'm the girl who stood her ground. The girl with the guts to say no. I'm getting thousands of new followers from this. If she suddenly recovers, I become the villain. And I'm not letting that happen. My entire body felt like it was filled with ice water. Then she said the line that still haunts me. Sometimes you have to let someone fall apart so you can rise. It's not personal. It's strategy. Not personal, not personal. Letting me fall apart was strategy. Keeping me sick was strategy. Blocking my cousin was strategy. And my parents, they weren't bystanders. Ethan had attached a second voice memo, this one from my mother, recorded by accident during a call she made while driving. Her voice was cheerful, almost giddy. Julia's right, my mom said. This could open so many doors for her. She's finally getting the spotlight she deserves. And once she's established, she'll help the whole family. Opportunities like this don't come around twice. The person on the other end asked, "But isn't your other daughter really unwell?" My mom sighed. "She's always been the difficult one. The drain, the one who needs and needs and needs. If this is the way things unfold, then maybe it was meant to be." Meant to be. Like my illness was fate's way of sculpting my sister's career. The last voice memo was my dad. "She'll survive, she's stronger than she looks. And if she doesn't, well, people die every day. But Julia, she has a chance to be someone." That was the moment something inside me snapped so cleanly it felt surgical. They didn't just fail me. They didn't just abandon me. They calculated my suffering, measured it, balanced it against what they believed my sister's fame was worth. And they chose her, not by mistake, not by ignorance, not by fear, by intention. The realization didn't destroy me. It focused me, because with clarity comes purpose. And I finally knew exactly what kind of revenge they deserved. I signed the form. Lee cried when the transplant coordinator called her. She drove to LA the next morning and showed up at my hospital room with a bag of snacks, a notebook full of questions, and a look on her face like she was ready to fight the entire world on my behalf. I didn't tell her everything. Not yet, not until the surgery was done and I was steady. The transplant happened fast, faster than I expected. Lee was a match, the recovery was brutal but doable, and for the first time in almost a year, I woke up without that crushing, bone-deep exhaustion. I woke up feeling alive. And once I was strong enough to sit up and breathe without pain, I started the final part of my plan. My revenge wasn't loud. It wasn't violent. It was methodical, documented, irrefutable. I gathered everything. The leaked emails, the deleted TikToks, my sister's voice memos, my parents, recorded conversations, screenshots from the transplant program proof. They blocked Lee proof. They lied to medical staff proof. They exploited my illness for a reality TV pitch. I didn't send it to gossip sites. I didn't send it to forums. I didn't even post it myself. I sent it directly to the Transplant Ethics Board, the reality show's legal department, the production company HR at my mother's business, HR at my father's company. Every single influencer Julia had partnered with the licensing board that oversaw the transplant program, and my favorite, the entire casting staff that had been stringing Julia along. I didn't attach commentary. I wrote only, "For your records." The fallout hit like a synchronized explosion. The Transplant Ethics Board opened an investigation within 48 hours. They flagged my sister and my parents for medical interference, donor manipulation, and coercive obstruction. My parents were permanently banned from being part of any donor decision-making in the future. My sister was blacklisted from every transplant program in the state. The reality show's legal team sent Julia a cease and desist that basically said, "Never contact us again." Then they forwarded the evidence to the production company. The production company issued a statement condemning her behavior and cut all communication. They also notified the talent agencies she had been trying to court. Influencers who had praised her deleted their posts. Some posted apologies. A few DM'd me privately with long, horrified messages. Then came the biggest hit, her private TikTok videos. Yes, the ones she secretly recorded of me, were reviewed by the platform's trust and safety team after an anonymous report, Ethan again. They determined she violated medical privacy rules and permanently banned her account. Her main account was suspended indefinitely. Her brand evaporated in a week. But the final blow landed when her employer, where she'd been bragging about her upcoming TV opportunities, received the recordings of her describing my potential death as useful for the storyline. They fired her the same day. As for my parents, they showed up to my apartment 2 weeks after the transplant. I didn't open the door, I spoke through the security camera instead. "I lived," I said, "and I know everything, all of it." My mom started crying. My dad started blaming stress and pressure. Julia tried to cut in, but I didn't let her. "You didn't just abandon me," I said. "You tried to turn my illness into your career. And you almost succeeded." My dad snapped, "We're still your family." "No," I said. "Family doesn't calculate your suffering. Family doesn't root for you to stay sick." I blocked them all that night. Lee moved in for a few weeks while we both healed. Ethan sent flowers and a note that said, "I'm so sorry I didn't see who she really was sooner." We've been rebuilding our friendship slowly, carefully. And me, I'm back at work, healthy, Healing, stronger than they ever expected me to be. People ask if I regret exposing them. I don't. They built their world on the assumption that I would stay weak. They were wrong. In the end, I didn't need to destroy them. I just needed to tell the truth. The truth did the rest. And the kicker, Julia posted one last message on a backup account before it got banned. She ruined my life. For the first time in months, I smiled.